Today is Memorial Day, and it's the unofficial first day of summer. We're all going to the lake or maybe a swimming pool, eating some hot dogs and fries, and maybe even indulge in some ice cream. Overall, today should be a great day. But let's not forget why we have this day off. Yes, it's another day to spend with the family, but it's also the day we remember men and women who, in the line of service, died while providing that service. These people risked their lives so we could have a better future. The least we can do is take some time out of our day and have a moment of silence thanking them for their sacrifice. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a moment of silence to remember the men and women who died in the line of service so that we can have freedom. So the first time I remember experiencing Memorial Day was when I was a scout. Scout had this way of making you feel reverent about certain things because that was one of the things you had to follow in the Scout law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. And so, in order for us to show our reverence, we always went out to Camp Butler, which was the National Cemetery in Springfield. And that's where they would bury people who fought in past wars at that National Cemetery. I remember the first time I went with my family. I can't remember if it was my whole family or if it was just my dad, but I remember going there and arriving early. And I remember they served us mellow cream donuts, right? Mellow cream donuts are like the staple donuts, local staple donuts in Springfield, right? So they had mellow cream donuts and orange juice, right? And so we sat there, we ate, and then they had the opening ceremony. The opening ceremony was super nice because they had this guy on this microphone, gathered everybody around, and we're all circled around him. And he starts giving a speech about Memorial Day and the fallen soldiers. And then at the end of his speech, he said a prayer. And then after his prayer, he gave everyone flags and he gave them instructions. And he said, what you guys are going to do is you're going to go around to these grave sites and these headstones, and you're going to place the flags at the front corner on the right of all of these headstones. And then you're going to move on. And we have certain areas around that are cut up so everybody will be able to get their chance to do this. So just do that, and we're going to do this until all the headstones have a flag on them. And so what you would do is you would run over and you would grab a bunch of flags, right? Just a crap load. They had them like in these baskets, and you would just take your armful and you would go around and you would just put them in the graves or by the headstones. I remember my grandfather. He was always the first one I would do, right? Because he was buried out there. And so I would grab my flags and I would rush over to his, and I made sure that I was the one to put his there, right? After all, it was all said and done, I remember we would have the ending ceremony. And in that ceremony, they would play taps. Then they would also have the 12-gun salute. And then they would raise and lower a flag, and we would have to salute the flag as it was being raised and lowered. I don't know, man. It was just crazy. Just how reverent we were, how respected these fallen soldiers were. It's just a surreal moment. And Scout, it had a lot of surreal moments like that, right? And it's just something that sticks in my mind every year, and they're still doing it to this day. I was going to try to get an interview with some of the people over there because nobody does it here in Terre Haute. So I was going to get an interview with somebody, and nobody's called me back, and they said I can come down there and shoot some shots if I wanted to. And I was like, man, it's a drive. So maybe next year we'll try to do something like that. But I just remember the atmosphere. It was just so crazy. The atmosphere there, just the reverence, and them teaching you to be reverent as a child, right? To give you, they were teaching us to have respect for the dead and respect for these people that passed away in the line of duty. Because let me tell you something, it's one of those things where it was a struggle for them. A lot of them, it was a struggle, right? A lot of them didn't want to go, but it was their duty to. And they went to protect us, right? To protect their families, right? That's what they were doing. And I can't even imagine being in their shoes, right? You have this foreign entity coming and putting their feet on your land, and they are threatening your livelihood and your family. And the only way that you think that you can protect your family and your livelihood is to go fight. I can't imagine that. These people are brave. They are 10 times braver than I am, right? And I give them their props. The ones that are living, salute to you. Thank you for what you've done, or thank you for what you're doing. And the people that have passed, I want to thank them for what they've done, because without them, we wouldn't be able to have the freedoms that we have, right? And I'm talking about all the wars, all the major wars in the United States, right? I know in the past episode of Memorial Day, we went down the line of how many soldiers have passed away in the 12 major wars, and we went through the 12 major wars, right? But I just want people to really understand that on this day, it's not just another holiday where we can just, have fun and just be all willy-nilly, We need to be really thinking about why we have this day, why we have this freedom to go swimming and eat the ice cream and have the hot dogs and just spend time with family. And it's because of all those fallen soldiers. So I want to thank you for having that moment of silence with me and really just thinking about the sacrifice that was made so that we could be here today. All right? And if you have a grandfather or a grandmother that was in the war, go talk to them about the war and some of their friends, if they want to talk about it, because I know a lot of people, they're really not into talking about it, but go talk to them and see if they will talk to you about the wars and things like that, and their friends and family members that pass away in there, because I think it'll give you a lot of reverence for what happened back then, right? And that's what this other topic is about here. It's remembering the past, right? This is why I think passing down stories to younger generations is important, right? To hear stories about certain events from the past, it gives the younger generation a reason to care, right? To care about the struggles, the mindset, the events that happened in the past. It's like my great-grandfather, right? He told me stories of our family's past. Where did we come from? As far as he knew is what he did. Why do our family do certain things, right? It really opened my eyes up to not only how my family works, but my personality, right? And I'm so thankful for my granddad, right? Because he sat me down and was telling me about where our family came from, because as a black person, you automatically think that your family comes from slaves, right? And he gave me concrete evidence of that, He said his grandfather was a slave and his dad was born into slavery, right? And then he was born, right? Type of a deal. And he started telling me his journey through life. And I only kind of got part one of it, because I had to leave and I had a family and everything. But I got part one of that. And so that was the only part, that's really the only part of my family history that I know is from what he's told me. Because he's the only one who's really sat down and told me about stuff like that. But when he was telling me that, it gave me a sense of pride to know my past. You know, it helped me understand myself as a person. And also helped me understand my personality traits, right? My granddad told me the reason we need to learn our history is so we don't repeat our past, right? Which I'm a big believer in, okay? Because I believe that we looked at our history and we learned our history, a lot of the things that are happening today wouldn't be happening, right? Which is kind of right now what's happening in America, right? We have all these history books and all these all this information on the internet, but no one's going back and looking at the history, and they're not reading all this information. And so what's happening is when you get somebody like me who goes back and they look at the history and they're reading all this information, I see the correlations between then and now, and I'm saying, what are we doing, right? History is just repeating ourselves, right? It's kind of like what old Rafiki said, you know, yes, the past is hard. But the way that I see it is you can either run from it or learn from it, right? And so I think that's why it's super important that we show reverence, right? We teach the younger generation reverence for the past, reverence for the fallen soldiers, right? We need to have the older generation tell the younger generation about where they came from and who they are, because it will give them a sense of self, right? We will be able to learn a lot more about ourselves, right? Because it helped me a lot. That's why I think I love history, because history helps me prepare for the future, right? So, I hope that you guys enjoy this day. And if you get anything out of this, I want you to remember two things. One, remember the people who died so that we can be free. And two, remember the past so that we can have a better future. Because I think it's only going to make us better, right? So, this is a short episode. I'm glad that you guys are here with me, and I hope that you have a great Memorial Day. Don't eat too much. We all got to go to work in the morning, so be good. I will talk to you guys later. I would love to hear your comments. Make sure you go to Gateway Pro Productions on Facebook, Instagram at _Joe Show 20, TikTok at _Joe Show 20, Balderdash on YouTube, and of course on Spotify. Leave your comments. I would love to hear from you. As of right now, guys, I'm headed out, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye bye, everybody.